Welcome to Crisis in Perception, where we examine the systems shaping our world, one book at a time. Today, we're getting into Naomi Wolf's The Beauty Myth. This is a book that completely reframes beauty, not as something you have, but as a political and economic system of control. And why does that matter? Well, because it has a huge impact on our jobs, what we buy, and even how we feel about ourselves.
Now, let's be really clear about something right up front. This book is not about whether you should or shouldn't wear lipstick. It's not a judgment on anyone's personal choices. What it is a structural analysis of power. It's about looking at the invisible system that makes those choices feel so loaded, so necessary in the first place.
So the whole thing is built around this one central paradox, a question that honestly feels more relevant now than ever. With women gaining more legal rights, more education, more economic power than basically any other time in history, why does it feel like the pressure to look a certain way has gotten so much worse, so much stricter and more punishing? To answer that, Wolf lays out her central argument. She calls it the beauty myth, and she explains exactly how it works as a really effective modern form of social control. Here's the core idea. You know, all those old ideas that used to keep women in their place. Things like, being quiet, staying in the home, being a certain kind of pure. Well, as those ideologies started to lose their grip, something else had to step in. Wolf argues that the beauty myth got stronger to fill that vacuum. It became the new, sneakier way to keep a whole generation of newly empowered women in check.
So, how does the system actually operate day to day? Wolf breaks it down into 4 key ways that this myth gets baked into our lives.
First up, the myth turns beauty into a kind of currency. No, seriously. It's not just a nice thing to look at, it's a system that assigns actual, tangible value to women. It creates this hierarchy, right? And just like any other currency, its value is totally determined by whatever the powerful political and economic forces of the time say it is.
And where do you spend this currency? The workplace is a big one. Wolf calls it the professional beauty qualification. It's this unwritten rule, this unspoken job requirement for women. And what that does is it turns appearance into a quiet but really powerful tool for discrimination, basically controlling women's access to money and power.
The second thing it does is it swaps physical confinement for psychological discipline. So back in the day, the feminine mystique trapped women with never-ending housework inside the home. The beauty myth does the same thing, but with never-ending beauty work that colonizes our minds and our bodies. It's like a form of self-surveillance you can never escape.
Third, there's the money. The beauty myth is an economic engine, and it runs on insecurity. We're talking about a $33 billion a year diet industry in the US alone, not to mention cosmetics and cosmetic surgery. These industries don't just happen to profit from women's anxieties, they have a direct financial incentive to create and maintain them.
And finally, the fourth mechanism is that it divides women. It sets beauty up as this scarce thing that you have to compete for. And by doing that, it gets women to see each other as rivals instead of allies. All that constant comparison, it just chips away at female solidarity, keeping everyone focused on their own individual ranking instead of on moving forward together. And all of this leads to what is probably the most powerful metaphor in the whole book. It's how she explains the backlash against women's progress.
Just look at this pattern for a second. Every time women take a major step forward, some cultural pressure around beauty pushes back, and hard. Women pour into the professions, and suddenly eating disorders skyrocket. They win reproductive rights, and cosmetic surgery explodes. Wolf says this is no accident. It's a direct reaction. And this is where she gives us the treadmill metaphor. Imagine women are running forward, making real gains. But as they speed up, the treadmill of beauty standards speeds up right with them. It forces them to spend more and more energy, more money, more focus, just to stay in place. It's an absolutely brilliant system for slowing down progress, not with a wall, but with simple psychological exhaustion.
So, what's the point of all this? The point is learning to see the system itself. It's about recognizing just how subtle and sophisticated modern control can actually be.
100 years ago, a woman could proverbially slam the door on the doll's house. But this new kind of control is so insidious because we internalize it. It feels like a personal problem, a private failure. There isn't one single door you can slam shut because the prison is built out of perception.
And really, that's the final takeaway here. The beauty myth doesn't use laws or physical force. It works by shaping how women see themselves, how they see each other, and how they see their own worth. The most effective control of all is the control over perception itself. For the full, long-form deep dive into this book and its ideas, follow the link in the description. If you enjoy this kind of systems-level analysis, please like, subscribe, and comment with books or topics you'd like us to explore next.